Well, some probably not so much.
I think they asked me about. Yeah. Yes.
All right, it's 6 o'clock and the board is here, so we will begin our meeting with the Pledge of Allegiance. If you'd like to join me for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, thank you. Next on our agenda is our public comment time. If you have a public comment, we would like to ask that you come to the microphone, state your name, and then do your public comment from there. Yes.
Right, Patrick Ziski on Bush Road. I'm eagerly awaiting the audit presentation, which is the main subject of the meeting. And I hope that the auditors can talk about our fund balance a little bit and our reserves and how much of a cushion we have. Because there are some other priorities in the township that we might spend money on in the coming years. That's my main concern. Thank you.
Any other public comment? Then we will move right to the presentation of the audit from
Should we stand here?
wherever's more convenient for you. It's not a huge group, so if everybody can hear you.
We can just stand here. All right, first of all, I introduce myself. I'm John Pfeffer, managing partner of Pfeffer Hannaford and Pelka. We've been in Brighton for over 40 years. And we are over 35 governmental units, many in Washington County. And I'd like to, say to the board, it's a privilege being your auditors. When we first started, there was another firm that was involved that did not want to be involved anymore because of the financial condition that was going on. And we got involved at that time, and we all kind of made it through that process. So we've all been through it together, which I, just want to say I appreciate it. This is Kristen Polnowski. She's a CPA with the firm. She's been with us for over 15 years, and she was one of the managers on the job with Deidre, this year. So I wanted to introduce Kristen. She'll answer the tough questions. With that said, I know it's very late that you've gotten the report. And again, I apologize that we have to call this special meeting. I know how our evenings are so important. But there are some things that, that we should discuss that are very important to the township. And again, the earlier question that was raised, I'll be glad to address that. That was part of what I was talking about. So also to the staff, I mean, everybody worked very hard. The treasurer's office, clerk's office, everybody, supervisor answering questions. So, again, I just wanted to say thank you to all of you. Everybody did a great job, cooperated, and was very helpful. And we'd like to say thank you to Kimberly for all the hard work that she did too. So, we wanted to let everybody know that. Probably the most important thing, make it as simple, probably the simplest way, and that's for me, is in the whole audit report, the most important thing the state of Michigan's looking at is the opinion. And the other term for it, the best opinion you can get is called unmodified, and that's what you're getting. And I just point out that way back in the early days when we first started, there was a concern, again, by a previous firm, and then when we got involved about being a going concern for the township at the time, but you guys got through it. And, you're doing, very well. So with that, I wanted to mention that, the good news, it's a unmodified opinion. That'll be the first thing the state of Michigan looks at. And the reason why they look at it is you have state share revenues, which are very important to the township. They'll continue those as long as they're getting a good opinion. And then you just went through a bonding process, which is really good. And it helps you with the bonding and the rating. And you went through that process very well. And, considering, where you had been, it's great. So you went through that and, the opinion, certainly strengthens all that to say, hey, that's good. Now, I know it's very late notice, but in the thick report, and the thicker ones that you have there, it's a bigger blue one. Just flip to page 54, if you could, we just put them on your desk. But, if you would. And this is probably the temperature of the whole township and where you're at right now. It's called, really it's your revenues and expenditures, comparing them to your budget. So on 54, if you look at the middle column, that's your actual revenue, and then expenditures were just below. And then most importantly, you were able to, which is really good, add 275,000 to your fund balance, which was a 17% increase, which is really good. So you're strengthening the fund balance, you stay within budget. And then if you look at the very bottom, it's your fund balance, it's 1.8 million. Now, if you stay at that page, I'm gonna kind of jump a little bit. If you look at the last pages of the graphs that you have. And I'll gladly kind of turn, or Kristen will turn to the public and show them what the last page is. But the last page is general funds, fund balance. And take a look at that. So what you've been able to do is build up your fund balance, and you're over 1.8 million right now. And your expenditures, as you saw on page 54, is in an annual year on page 54 was, I think, 900,000. Yes. So I'm sorry, 654. So you've been able to build your fund balance up that, boy, if they do cut the state share revenues, if we have any issues with that, which is 36% of your revenues right now, that you can sustain it. But if you look at that graph, look where you came from over the years, that's really good. Because there was a period of time, as I said, in earlier years, that it was a question whether we could sustain things. And you've been able to do it. So, I mean, to me, that's I look at things as if I was on the board and what I want to know and how where are we really at? When you're sitting there trying to make decisions and you go, boy, can we afford this, or what should we do? What can we do for the residents, that can help them? You've done a great job of building it up, and obviously you have some room there if you wanted to do some other things, whether it was pathways or other things for the township. That would be possible because of that. Also, at that time, and that's historic, that's back in March, you had 200 and check that there was 290,000 left of ARPA money. So I know that you've probably spent some of that since that time period. But again, in a way, you had a fund balance of rather than 1.8, you really had about 3.1 or 2.1, I'm sorry, because you could say that was part of it. And then you would have probably spent part of that or most of it by now, or you will over the next year or so, spending ARPA. So, again, as I said, that last graph, when we put that together and I looked at it, and I was thinking about the history going back with Silver, and where you've come from and where you're at now, it's really good. So again, to the gentleman's question, you guys have built that into a really good situation. Along with that, and it's in the graphs on the first page. If you just look to the first page, And that's about the general fund again, and where the revenues come from. And I just wanted to clarify again. That people really, sometimes the residents don't understand that a lot of the tax monies will go to the schools. The township gets a much smaller portion than what, will go to the schools and other units. If your general fund budget, revenues, only 36% came from taxes, that's admin fees and things like that. 36% or so came from state share revenues, which is an important thing. Where do state share revenues come from? They come from taxes, sales tax. So if the economy is doing fairly well, they don't, those don't go down, they kind of up a little bit. If we run into a stall in the economy, that could be affected. So I do want to point that out. That, you always have to have your ear out there thinking, what's the state talking about? State share revenues, are they going to distribute it different? How's that going to affect Sylvan Township? So just keep that in mind. If you hear anything in that direction. But again, the general fund, I can't say enough about that, how strong that is and where that. The other item I want to mention tonight too is, and again, I want to be very clear that everybody, has heard that we're not financial advisors, we're not giving financial advice. But Kristen has here, one thing that we do recommend to a lot of units right now, it's a program that's out there. So if you guys remember when you had the failure of the bank out east or out west and, out in California, and they're trying to get calls from treasurers concerned about what they should do with the, money. So what I'm recommending is, you look at, obviously it's the treasurer's job, and you guys should seriously look at this ICS program. You cannot be that. What they do is if you give them $1 million, they move it to 4 institutions that are strong. They're all federally insured. And right now, you guys, it's paying sometimes 4 or 5%. You can't do it. And right now, you currently have over $7 million. So you should strongly, look at that and, try to go in that direction because, it'd just be really good idea for the township, to really consider that. So, that is another item that again, I'm not at all giving financial advice. Just consider it. You're going to make your own decisions which direction we're going to go. But I did want to make sure that, you were aware of that. And it's a great program. Most of the units, especially after what happened out west, they start going to this, which was really good. And then really the last item, and then I'll open up for questions for everybody, has to do with the, and it has been going on with the bonds and, future of paying off the bonds, and you have a township-wide assessment. So again, what I recommend is either you form a committee or you have a board, work session as a board, really take a strong look at it. I did come across that you did get a memo from John Axe. So John Axe, I've probably known for 35, 40 years. Obviously, he'll tell you this 10 times. He wrote some of the beginning law in Michigan about it. So he's usually a good source for what is the norm? What do you have? What happens out there? Maybe, it should be within your as far as your rules and regulations, but he knows what's really best. And in the memo, I just want to paraphrase, you probably already know about it, but he did mention in the last part of his memo that he really feels strongly that the cash you're getting should go against those bonds. Now, typically in our other units, here's what happens. A lot of times, if we didn't have the situation with the bonds, the cash go in for capital improvements, all good. That's where it goes. But we had units that were similar to what happened here. What happened was when we had that recession, back in 2008, they had the same thing. It's all public knowledge. We ought to Brighton Township did the same thing. They had the problem with the debt, and then they finally paid off the bonds. It came from tax, and other sources. And then they put that behind them forever. Okay. So what I would like you to consider, and we can be part of that, but it's really going to be a decision by you, and we recommend bond counsel, is that you have that. You also have the money from litigation still there. And that, you seriously look at how to tackle those bonds, to get them off your books. And again, I'm not making a recommendation of what you do at all, but again, you're getting these steps that you're getting recommended to do it. I'd rather have you make a decision either way, and you're getting information to do it, than to not try to make a decision and we're off another. You know, we got another, I think, 2026, the amount comes off the roll. I'm not sure what year that is, 25 or 30. But maybe you can make a decision before that, that could affect that, or maybe not. But I do seriously think you should look at, especially with these taps coming in right now, and that you've got a recommendation to pay off the bonds. And I would be remiss to at least not say that during the audit. Okay, just so you know. And again, I'm not telling you what to do, but it's just, you know, something I'd recommend. And, you know, it's an issue that we can all tackle together and just make a common sense thing that's best for, you know, the public. So again, that was the last thing I had to say tonight. I would hope that now at some point after you ask questions, that we could, you can approve the audit, and then we'll submit that to the state right away. So open it up for questions.
Can you send me the information on ICS? I've never heard of it.
Yeah, okay, that's perfect.
Please.
Yeah.
And I'm using Michigan. Michigan class.
Yeah.
They do
Yeah.
really well.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely.
Thank you.
I was just gonna say, thanks for mentioning the bond, because for me, that was a big issue.
Right.
So I'm glad that you addressed it. When I look at your letter, to the board of trustees.
Yeah.
You know, the first couple things, seems like every year, you know, show up. It's the third page. That when I read through those 6 items.
Yeah.
I'm not sure I understand what those 6 things mean.
Yeah. So some of that,
That's a way for me
yeah.
to educate myself on, you know, those 6 items. Should I reach out to like you by email?
Yeah, that would be helpful. I can say that some of those have been tackled. And some of those are still ongoing. And well, I think another approach could be is that if we could come in, you know, in a quarterly sense and address these issues and then we can report to the board. Okay, rather than you guys have to worry about it, then you're not in between, you don't have to get in between the offices or anything else, it's us. And then we could go, hey, we could send you a report, hey, you know, to the board, and Kurt, you can see that, hey, this has been tackled, this has been tackled. Some of them have been there and they're in previous years and haven't been resolved, for sure.
Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah, we definitely can do that, okay?
I have the same question, so I guess if that's, we'll do, yeah, that's. Yeah.
To accept the audit report.
I'll second it.
Motion from Kurt to accept, approve, is accept, okay?
Yeah.
Okay. Supported by Rob, is there any other board discussion? All right, then we'll, voice vote, okay, all in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed say nay. And hearing none, motion
All right,
carries.
good, and good evening, thanks so
Thank
much,
you.
you guys.
Thank you very
Thanks,
much.
Chris.
All right, wonderful. That is off, and now next on our agenda is the Washtenaw County Early Voting Agreement.
Oh, yeah.
So I sent this around to everybody, hopefully a week or so ago. So you had some time to look it over. This is the agreement that all of the municipalities need to sign who want to collaborate with the county. Anybody have any questions? Give me a chance to go over.
I looked really briefly, not as close as I should have, but I noticed that we're down for one precinct. even though we're over 3,000, but I also saw in our township update that the proposal to increase that to 5,000 is still.
But we have
moving
3,000 registered, but that's not the number of active voters, and they go on
Oh,
active, which is less, and so I have to call them because that changes. So I spoke with Ed and Trish and the council, and they said we're good for this next, they think the entire next election cycle.
24.
Yes.
Wow, okay, that would be fantastic. That's gonna be a.
Yeah, well.
How many are active?
I have to call it based on.
2,000?
No, it's close to 3,000, we're very close to the threshold. So this would just need to be signed by October 6th, so if you have any additional questions, you know, I can go back and ask Ed before the October 3rd board meeting. Comfortable signing it, but if you are, then I would love to, you know, make the motion that I am authorized to sign this so that I can send that back to the county and keep moving. Ed and Trish are actually, we're discussing them coming on Monday because they have asked if we would be one of the early voting sites. They originally were looking at the city of Chelsea, but they were looking at the courthouse. But they had some issues with the size of the rooms, and then the council chambers are already booked for other obligations. So we discussed them possibly looking at the Washington Street Education Center. You know,
Oh, that's a good.
so they were going to come next, Trish and Ed were going to come next week, maybe Monday or Tuesday, depending on your schedule in the morning, to just look at the facility, talk to us, you know, get our feedback, you know, our concerns. So what are your thoughts on this being the site?
It's a great idea. Parking, we have a lot of parking. It's much easier than trying to get into an urban situation, which I consider the Washington Street to be. And anyway, I'm all in favor of early.
I think that needs to be decided. I thought maybe 90 days before the first presidential primary, so we have some time. And if we have some questions.
Right. So this agreement is just to collaborate with the county. It's not designating us at this
No,
point.
no. It just
to
says
be
that
clear, it's just.
we will actually collaborate with them as one of the municipalities.
Okay.
The many that
I'm in favor of that.
Yes.
Because the other option is,
that we have to run it and staff it.
that's not appealing.
No.
No, I have no problem with this agreement.
Right, then I will make the motion to authorize the Sylvan Township clerk to sign the Washington County early voting agreement.
All right, I'll support that. Any more discussion?
So the 6 sites that current are these here.
They are.
Tenants in that system.
Yes, it's kind of good. They were originally, as I looking at the city of Chelsea, but we,
So they may have.
no, that was just where they were looking at that region, but we did suggest that they, you know, they will look at the Washington County Education Center and get that close. Okay,
It looks like they're planning on quite a few. They've got 6 identified, although one of them is, and then space for 6 more, because I'm thinking that's Washington County, we want to make sure, how many people would be coming to us?
right,
Sharon Township, Manchester Township.
we have to do the math, I mean, they give me the,
Yeah,
you know, the number of.
well, I guess it will depend on where their other ones are, as they work out.
Right.
Okay, I'm sorry, did I have to be, take a vote on that?
Not
Or
yet.
any question you answered? Okay. Any other? Okay, all in favor of the motion, say aye. Aye. Opposed, say nay. Thank you, motion carries. Okay. It's not on here, we normally have a second public comment, does anybody have a public comment? Are there board of trustee comments? Not this time, all right, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn. All right, motion to adjourn by Rod. Support by Amanda. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Those say nay. Motion carries. Thank you. So 6:23 in my.
And my, in my packet, I didn't have the list of additional polling.
Oh, okay, you didn't have that, okay. This even have it under.
Well, I